Welcome back. So we're talking about convexity, and in particular, convex sets today. So convexity is a key concept in optimization theory. If we have a convex optimization problem, then there are a huge wealth of techniques to solve those problems, and they're much easier to solve than non-convex optimization problems. And so there are two ingredients to a convex optimization problem. There's the objective function, and then there is the set of constraints that determines a feasible set where the optimum solution has to live. And so today we're going to talk about what makes a set convex or non-convex. So here are two examples of convex sets, a little hexagon and an oval. And we're going to illustrate we're going to define what it is to be a convex set, and then give a bunch of examples and properties. So the definition of a convex set is the following. A set C, like this hexagon or this oval, is convex if for every 2 points inside of this set, for every x and y point, pair of points inside of this set, the line segment connecting those 2 points is also in the set. If that's true for every pair of points, if every pair of points has a line segment connecting them that is also in the set, then we would say that that set C is convex. If that's not true, then the set is not convex. Okay, so here I'm going to illustrate it on this oval example. So we have our set here, and we have these 2 points x and y. They're just arbitrary points. And you can parameterize the line segment between those points, this orange line segment, with this alpha parameter. So when alpha is 0, we are entirely at the point y. And when alpha is 1, we are entirely at the point x. And for an alpha between 0 and 1, I slide along this line segment. So for every single alpha between 0 and 1, for every point on this line segment, that point has to be in this set, in this purple region, for the set to be convex. And that has to be true for every single pair of points I could pick in this set. For every pair of points I can pick, in this case, including on the boundaries, the line segment connecting them has to be in the set. So that's clearly true for this oval. You can kind of verify that just intuitively in your mind. It's also true for this hexagon. Any 2 points, the line segment connecting them is also in the set. This is an example of a non-convex set because there is this, we call this here a concavity, this little bump that's taken out. And if I take 2 points, x and y, that are kind of around that concavity, the line segment connecting them, there are points that are not inside the set. These points here are not in the set, and that means that that set is not convex. It's not a convex set. Okay, so really important definition, and actually really simple and easy to understand. This is kind of all there is to convex set theory. A set is convex if and only if, for every 2 points in that set, the line segment connecting those points is also in the set. Okay, and this idea generalizes to much higher dimensional spaces and much kind of weirder shapes and geometries. Okay, so this is a really simple definition, but this will encapsulate a huge array of shapes. Good. So let's look at another example. If I have this circular disk, and the interior of that disk is also part of the set, so this is a shaded disk, this is a hollow circle, the shaded disk is a convex set because any 2 points, the line segment connecting them is in that shaded disk. Whereas the ring, the hollow circle or the hollow ring, is not convex because if I take 2 points on the boundary, the line segment connecting them is interior, and the interior is not in the set. So all of these dashed orange points are not in this hollow ring set. So the filled disk is convex, but the hollow ring is non-convex. Polyhedra in higher dimensions, in 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions, n dimensions, are generally convex if they have this kind of this property. But if they have weird boundaries where some of the boundaries are included and some of them are not included, you might have them be kind of degenerately non-convex, because if I took a point at this corner and a point at this corner, there would be points along the line connecting them that are not in the set. So I've drawn this as kind of a dashed boundary here. But usually if you do common sense things like include the boundaries or disregard all of the boundaries, then your set will be convex. And there's a lot of pretty hairy, deep mathematical theory and set theory and topology related to convex set theory. I'm going to gloss over most of that and just give you the intuitive kind of common sense notions of these things. And maybe later I'll have some more kind of deep dive math lectures on convexity. Good. So these are some examples. Other good examples are a point is convex, kind of trivially convex. A line segment or an infinite line, those are both convex. A section of a plane or an entire plane or a half plane, those are also convex. And these generalize to higher and higher dimensions. So for example, a positive quadrant of a three-dimensional space, that would be convex. Or the entire three space is also convex. Or the positive half space where x is greater than or equal to 0, that would be convex. So these are all building blocks. And what we're going to see very soon is that I can get kind of more exotic shapes by taking the intersections of these, and I can build these little convex sets out of these building block pieces. So other useful convex sets that are going to come up a lot are things like spheres, ellipsoids, and cones. And as long as the cross-section of this cone is convex, then if I extrude it out, either in a cylinder or a cone, that will also be a convex set. Okay, so these are really, really useful, and we're going to see these all the time in optimization theory. And remember, a lot of our optimization problems are going to be very high dimensional. We're going to be trying to train a neural network with 1 million parameters, or doing a least squares problem where we're fitting 100 or 1,000 unknown variables. So our notion of a convex set is going to be in a very high dimensional space. So we need to be able to take these building blocks, these kind of concepts, and abstract them. An n-sphere is convex. An n-dimensional ellipsoid is convex. An n-dimensional hyperplane is also convex. Things like that. Good. So this is the notion of kind of convex and non-convex. One kind of other point is if you had a non-convex shape like this kidney bean, there's something called the convex hull, H-U-L-L. This is like the hull of a ship, the kind of body frame of a vessel, a naval vessel. And you would get this convex hull by taking the smallest set that is convex that contains that non-convex kidney bean. And in this case, it's really kind of intuitive how to do this. You just kind of take those two edge points and connect them and fill it in. You basically fill in this concavity here, and you get a convex set called the convex hull. So you can take non-convex sets and convexify them by adding in the points that are missing, essentially. Good. Okay, so that's the notion of convexity. I want to show you how you can take inequality constraints, which are going to come up all over the place in optimization theory, and build convex sets using these inequality constraints. So if I have something like the inequality constraint that my x variable has to be greater than or equal to 0, that sets up a feasible region in my optimization problem that is the right half plane, where x is greater than or equal to 0. It also establishes what's known as an infeasible region. The complement of that is the set x less than 0. Notice that if this is x is greater than or equal to, then this is x strictly less than. The boundary has to be either feasible or not feasible. It can't be both. Okay, and so this feasible region in this case is a convex set. The infeasible region is also a convex set. So this inequality constraint in my optimization problem establishes a feasible region that is convex. And so that means that all of my powerful convex optimization techniques are going to apply when I have simple equality and inequality constraints. Now I can have more complex constraints, like the radius of my x and y point has to be less than or equal to 1. And that would also establish a convex feasible region, this unit circle here. And it would establish a non-convex infeasible region, which is everything outside of that circle. So what I'm trying to get at here is that in our optimization problem, our constraints are generally going to be written as either linear or nonlinear inequality constraints, and those are going to establish feasible regions which may or may not be convex. I could easily write down an equation where the feasible region is weird and non-convex, but in these cases, our feasible region is in fact convex. So that's kind of where inequality constraints often give you convex sets. Linear inequalities will always give you convex sets. Nonlinear inequality equations may or may not give you convex sets. Good. And the intersection of two convex sets is also convex. This is always true. I'm going to prove this in another video. It's actually a really simple proof, so I'm just going to do it because it's good for you to see it. If I have two sets, C1 and C2, the intersection, this C1 and, that should be a C2, C1 and C2 is this intersection of the two sets. We call it C. And that means that any point in this middle region has to belong to both C1 and to C2 to be in this intersection. And you can prove pretty easily that if C1 is convex and if C2 is convex, then this kind of intersection region in the middle has to be convex. It has that property that every line segment connecting any 2 points lies entirely in that set. Okay, and if this is true for 2 sets, it's true for 3 or for 4 or for n. I can take the intersection of as many sets as I want, and if they're convex, the resulting set is still convex. So this is huge. This is how we're going to build convex feasible regions with our constraint equations in optimization. So for example, if I have this matrix system of inequality constraints, a bunch of inequality constraints, that can determine a convex feasible set C, like this kind of quadrilateral here. So for example, I might have 2 inequality constraints that y has to be greater than or equal to 0 and x has to be greater than or equal to 0. Those are these kind of very lightly shaded purple half planes. Those are convex. And so their intersection, the positive quadrant up here, is also convex. And then I might add 2 more constraints that y has to be less than or equal to 2/3 and x plus y has to be less than or equal to 1. Again, the intersection of these 4 constraint equations, these 4 convex sets, gives me this feasible convex set here in the middle. And this is where my optimum value, the solution of my optimization problem, has to live in this convex feasible set given by these inequality constraints. So super, super useful. The property that the intersection of 2 convex sets is also convex is what allows us to build these convex feasible regions in optimization problems. Super powerful, really fundamental, and I'm going to show you a proof of this in a future video. Good. And this, again, like I said, this establishes the feasible sets that we're going to use for every linear programming problem and for every quadratic programming problem. The constraints are going to be of this form, and so we're going to get these convex feasible sets. So that's one of the nice things about linear programming and quadratic programming, is that they're convex optimization problems that have really good generic solution techniques. Okay, so that's kind of all I wanted to tell you at the beginning with convex sets. It's really just defined by this simple definition that a set is convex if for every 2 points x and y in the set, the line segment connecting those 2 points is also in the set. So these are examples of convex sets. This set is non-convex because it does not satisfy that property. And this is one of the most useful ideas in set theory and in optimization. So soon we're going to talk about what it means to make a function convex, so we can have convex sets and also convex objective functions. And so we'll talk about what it means for a function to be convex soon. All right, thank you.